Welcome to TOCHI Stories. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on post notification because it will mean the whole world to me. Now let's get right into the story. Brace yourself. Uche sat outside his small electronics repair shop, eyes scanning the street like a hawk searching for prey. His business was doing passably well, enough to eat, enough to survive, but nowhere near the life he once imagined when he threw Amara away. Every day, he watched passers-by with dull resentment until his gaze landed on one particular face that always tightened something inside his chest. His son. The boy, tall for his age, full of life, walked past in his clean school uniform, oblivious to the eyes watching him. Uche clenched his fists. That was his blood, his son, his heir. And yet, the boy walked by him like a stranger. The bitterness curled in his belly like acid. It wasn't just regret anymore, it was obsession. As the boy disappeared around the corner, Uche's mother, Mama Uche, stepped out of the shop's back room where she had been shelling melon seeds. Her eyes followed his gaze and, as if reading his mind, hissed through her teeth. That boy belongs here, not with them. You were foolish to let that billionaire take him from you. That woman too, that witch. You let her escape, but you won't let your blood go like that. Her voice was like gasoline on fire. Moments later, Ngozi and Chidinma arrived, carrying bowls of vegetables. They caught the conversation midstream, but didn't hesitate to join in. You need to act now, Uche, Ngozi urged. You lost Amara, yes, but you won't lose your own child. That's your blood, your future. Chidinma nodded aggressively. Get him back. Do it before it's too late. The family was a choir of manipulation, each voice feeding the next, until the noise drowned Uche's fading sense of morality. The weight of their words settled heavily on Uche's shoulders. He looked down at his palms, rough, scarred, tired. The hands of a man who once believed he was above everyone, but now spent his days soldering broken radios for pennies. Deep inside, a voice whispered, maybe they're right. It wasn't just about love for the child. No, it was about pride, about proving to himself and the world that he hadn't been defeated. I can get him back, he murmured. I will get him back. His jaw clenched. A new plan formed, one rooted not in violence or open confrontation, but in something far more dangerous, manipulation. The same tactics his family had perfected for years. If he could get into the boy's mind, if he could turn the child's heart against Amara and that billionaire, then the boy would come willingly. Uche's first step wasn't reckless, it was calculated. He started appearing near the school gates, pretending to cell phone chargers to passing teachers and students. From a distance, he studied his son's routine. When the boy came out each day, laughing with friends, Uche would wait until he was alone, then offer harmless greetings. The first time, it was awkward. Hey, you probably don't remember me. I'm your father. The boy stared at him, confused, unsure whether to run or reply. But Uche smiled, softened his voice, and pulled out a small bag of snacks. I just wanted to give you this. You're growing. You should eat well. Then he walked away, not pressing, not pushing, just planting a seed. The next day, he did it again. This time, with a soft drink. The day after, a packet of biscuits. Gradually, the boy's guarded posture relaxed. Curiosity bloomed where suspicion once lived. Why haven't I seen you? The boy finally asked one afternoon, his voice hesitant, but the question clear. Uche sighed, the kind of sigh that signals a rehearsed tragedy. It's a long story, my son. One your mother never wanted you to know. I never left you. I was forced away. The boy frowned, his young mind struggling to compute. Forced. Uche nodded solemnly. Yes. There are things about Mr. Obinna that I can't tell you now. Just know it was never my choice. I love you. I always have. Then, as always, he handed over another harmless gift and walked away, leaving confusion behind like a breadcrumb trail. Behind closed doors, Uche's family cheered his progress. Mama Uche rubbed her hands together, grinning wickedly. Good. Very good. Keep going. Make him see that woman for the devil she is. Ngozi laughed. The boy's already asking questions. Soon, he'll start hating them on his own. Chidinma added, planted deep. Tell him that Billionaire never wanted you to be happy. Tell him that man stole his father away. Uche nodded, soaking in every suggestion, every lie that would soon become his twisted truth. He wasn't doing this alone. His family, the same family that once fueled his hatred for Amara, was right behind him, pushing, whispering, celebrating each step toward a slow, silent war against the woman they once discarded and the billionaire who had given her a new life. It didn't take long for Uche's poison to start working. At first, the boy would come home quieter than usual. He ate less, laughed less, and withdrew into his room earlier each evening. Amara noticed the shift immediately. As any mother would, her instincts pricked at her heart like needles. "What's wrong?" she asked softly over dinner one night. "Nothing," came the clipped reply. But mothers know when nothing means everything. Mr. Obinna noticed it too. The boy, once eager to sit beside him, to ask questions, to seek advice, now avoided him. He'd shift his chair further away. He stopped calling him Dad. The change was subtle at first, then glaring. One evening, as Amara tucked him into bed, her son asked in a whisper, "Mom, why did you push Dad away?" The words hit her like a hammer to the chest. Her heart stopped. For a moment, her lips refused to form words. What?" she stammered. The boy looked down, fingers playing with the edge of his bedsheet. "He told me. He said it wasn't his fault. You and Mr. Obinna chased him away. He said he wanted to be with me, but you wouldn't let him." Hot tears pooled in Amara's eyes, but she held them back, refusing to let her son see her break. "Baby, it's not true," she whispered. But the seed had already taken root. In the privacy of their bedroom, Amara broke down. "Obinna, it's happening. Someone is poisoning his mind." Obinna's jaw clenched, his fists tightening. "It's Uche. Who else? I should have expected this. I should have seen this coming." His voice was calm but edged with fury. But this wasn't a battle that fists or lawyers could fix. This was deeper, a war for a child's heart. And as they sat together in the dim glow of their bedroom lamp, one thing became painfully clear. The past they thought they had escaped was knocking at their door again. Only this time, it wasn't coming for them. It was coming for their child. Amara sat on the edge of her bed, staring blankly at the floor as though the answers she desperately sought would magically appear in the cracks between the tiles. Her heart was heavy, suffocating under the weight of a mother's deepest fear, losing her child, not to death, but to the poison of lies and manipulation. The changes were no longer subtle. Her son, the boy she had fought the entire world for, was slipping away before her eyes. His once warm hugs had turned cold, his playful laughter now reduced to long stretches of silence. He avoided her gaze, responded with monosyllables, and spent more time locked in his room, clutching his phone and staring out the window. A wall had risen between them, invisible but impenetrable. Dinner times had become the worst. She'd prepare his favorite meals, yam porridge, fried plantain, or a goosey soup, but the boy would pick at his food, barely eating, pushing his plate aside with an indifferent shrug. Obinna, usually the calm force in their home, had begun showing signs of worry. He often sat quietly at the table, eyes narrowed, observing the tension like a man studying the tremors before a storm. Amara had tried to engage, to coax, to remind her son of the bond they shared. "Baby, you know you can talk to me about anything, right?" she would ask, her voice laced with desperation. But his response was always the same, a cold nod or a mumbled, "I'm fine." But he wasn't. He wasn't fine, and Amara knew it. That night, after tucking him in and receiving yet another distant good night, Amara paced the living room until her legs ached. "Obinna, something is wrong. I feel it deep. I feel it in my bones. Someone is feeding him lies. Someone is turning him against me, against us." Obinna folded his arms, his face hard as granite. "It's Uche. Who else would do this?" His voice trembled not with fear, but with contained fury. "We need to find out how deep this has gone. If we don't, Amara, we could lose him, not physically, but worse, emotionally, mentally." Amara covered her face with trembling hands. God, after everything I went through, after the nights I starved to raise him, is this how it ends? But deep down, she knew this wasn't the end. It was the beginning of a fight more dangerous than any she'd faced before. Meanwhile, in Uche's compound, the atmosphere was anything but tense. In fact, it was celebratory. A sick, twisted version of victory that only the truly entitled could indulge in. Mama Uche sat in her plastic chair, legs stretched out, chewing on roasted groundnuts, as though savoring the sweet taste of revenge. Her face beamed with satisfaction, her lips curling into a cruel grin. "It's working," she said proudly. "The boy is asking questions. Next thing, he will reject that woman and that old fool of a billionaire. He will come home, where he belongs." Ngozi giggled, adjusting her cheap wig as she scrolled through her phone. "Mama, imagine when he comes here, people will finally respect us. Our blood, our air. We'll show them that we are not the failures they think we are." So Medina, their lazy brother, chimed in between mouthfuls of fried plantain. "And let me tell you something, once the boy is fully with us, we go start collecting. School fees, upkeep, clothes, let them feel it." Mama Uche clapped her hands, laughing. "Yes. And who knows, maybe we go even sue. Demand joint custody. Abi no be our blood." Her face darkened slightly, the wickedness more pronounced. "We should have done this long ago. Let them feel what it's like when you toy with the Uches." The family was united not by love, but by greed, a parasitic hunger that saw Amara's success not as her triumph, but as something they were entitled to claim. Uche sat quietly in the corner, arms crossed, staring into space. Beneath the satisfaction, a storm brewed. His reasons were complicated, part regret, part guilt, but mostly pride. He wasn't truly doing this out of fatherly love. He was doing it because seeing Amara rise from the ashes of his rejection gnawed at his soul. She wasn't supposed to succeed without him. She wasn't supposed to walk with her head held high while he struggled. His bloodline, his child, was the last piece of dignity he could snatch back from the life that had humbled him. His mother's voice snapped him from his thoughts. "Uche, file for custody. Even if not small chance, go for it. Force them to share that boy. At least then, you'll have power. You'll have control." Uche nodded slowly, the idea fermenting in his mind like sour wine. "Yes. Yes. I will. Let's see how long they can smile." The sound of heavy knocking shattered the morning calm at Amara's home. She opened the door to find a stern-faced courier holding a brown envelope. "Are you Mrs. Amara Obinna?" he asked formally. She nodded, confusion written across her face. "Sign here, Ma." Her hands trembled as she scribbled her signature. As soon as the man left, dread filled her chest like concrete. With shaky fingers, she tore open the envelope. Inside was a court letter, a formal petition. Uche was suing for joint custody. Her eyes darted over the words, heart pounding. Petitioner, Uche, seeks joint custody, claims parental alienation, demands scheduled visitation rights. The paper trembled in her hands as her knees buckled beneath her. "No, no, this can't be happening," she whispered, gripping the doorframe for balance. Her scream echoed through the house, bringing Obinna running. "What is it? What's wrong?" he demanded. She handed him the letter, unable to speak. His eyes scanned it, and his face transformed from confusion to outrage. His jaw tightened, his fists clenched so hard his knuckles turned white. "So this is his game," he hissed. "Manipulate the boy, then come with the law to finish it." Without another word, he grabbed his phone, dialing his lawyer on speed dial. "This just became war," he said flatly. But as strong as Obinna was, nothing could erase the fear now consuming Amara. It wasn't the court case that scared her most. It was the realization that her son, her baby, was being torn in two. She collapsed into the sofa, sobbing uncontrollably. "Why? Why won't they leave me alone? After everything I survived, after the nights I went hungry, after the hospital, the shame, the pain, now this." Her cries shook the walls. Obinna sat beside her, pulling her close, stroking her back, but unable to hide the tremor in his own voice. "We will fight. You hear me? We will fight. We are not losing him. Not to them. Not ever." But even as his words tried to be her anchor, both of them knew the truth. This wasn't just a legal fight. This was a fight for their child's heart, his future, and for everything they had built together. The question was, would love be enough to withstand the poison that had already started its work? The morning after receiving the court papers, Obina's compound was filled with a tense silence that weighed heavier than any word spoken. Inside his private study, a legal team of 4 lawyers sat around a polished mahogany table, flipping through thick files, marking pages, and typing furiously on their laptops. Obina paced the room, his hands locked behind his back, eyes sharp as blades. His face, usually calm and composed, was now lined with fury. "We are not just defending. We are going on the offensive," he declared firmly. "I want a counter-petition filed by noon. Full custody. I will not allow a man who once denied this child to now come back with dirty hands, pretending to be a father." His voice carried the weight of a man who had built empires, and was now prepared to defend his family like he had his fortune. The lead lawyer, a bald, middle-aged man named Barrister Keen, nodded. "Sir, we'll pull every record. We'll bring out the footage from the hospital incident, the viral video, the termination letter from his former workplace that shows moral misconduct, witness testimonies. Uche will not win this." Obina nodded, but didn't relax. "It's not just about winning in court. It's about protecting that boy's heart. Because whether we like it or not, the damage has started." His voice cracked slightly, but he caught himself before showing too much vulnerability. He walked to the window, watching Amara from afar as she sat quietly in the garden, her face buried in her hands. His heart clenched. "I promised her peace, and now we're here again." As the lawyers worked, Obina drafted another plan. He called a private investigator. "I want surveillance on Uche. I want every meeting, every move he makes, recorded. If he so much as whispers another lie to that boy, I want it documented." The investigator agreed without hesitation. Obina wasn't just fighting a legal battle. He was fighting a psychological one. He knew Uche's family, how they thrived on manipulation, how they used guilt and lies like weapons. And this time, he wasn't going to play defense alone. He was taking the fight directly to them. This wasn't just about Uche trying to claw back control. It was about a man who had once destroyed a woman rising to destroy her again through her son. But Obina had survived storms before. He whispered under his breath, "Not this time. Not on my watch." While Obina and his team prepared for the legal firestorm, Uche doubled down on his manipulation. He no longer waited by the school gates pretending to be a harmless passerby. No. Now he stood boldly, leaning on his motorcycle, waiting for his son with a proud grin, as if the past had been rewritten and the title of father was something he had always worn. As soon as the boy stepped out of school, Uche handed him a wrapped box, a brand new tablet. "This is for you, son," he smiled. "So you can learn, grow, and know that your father didn't abandon you. They took me away, but I never left you in my heart." His voice was smooth, coated with the sugary venom of a master manipulator. The boy, impressionable and craving answers to the confusion storming inside his young mind, took the tablet hesitantly. His heart wavered between the mother who raised him and the man who now appeared at his side like a long-lost hero. Uche seized that vulnerability with precision. "You see, son, that billionaire. He hates me. He always did. He never wanted me to be happy. He and your mother made sure I wasn't part of your life. I fought, son. I fought hard, but they pushed me out. And now they don't even want you to know the truth." The boy's grip on the tablet tightened. His brows furrowed. Doubt brewed like a dangerous storm cloud. Is that true?" he asked, voice small but heavy. Uche placed his hand gently on the boy's shoulder. "Ask yourself, son, if I didn't love you, why am I here now? Why did I buy you this? Why do I come every day just to see your face?" He chuckled softly, a cruel imitation of fatherly love. "They may have money, but they don't have what we have, blood. And blood is thicker than anything in this world." The boy's chest tightened. Confusion gripped him like chains. He nodded slowly, staring at the ground. What was true? Who was right? And as the school bell echoed behind him, one thing became terrifyingly clear. Uche wasn't just playing the victim. He was rewriting history. And the boy was beginning to believe it. By the end of that week, the home that had once been Amara's sanctuary felt foreign, tense, as though an invisible fog of distrust had seeped into the walls. Dinner was no longer a time of laughter. The boy would sit silently, poking at his food, refusing eye contact. When Mr. Obinna asked about his day, the boy shrugged, mumbled, or sometimes didn't answer at all. Amara noticed it immediately. Her son, the same child who once ran into her arms after school, now avoided her gaze. Her heart splintered each time he flinched when she reached to brush crumbs from his cheek. It reached a head one evening when Amara tried to set the dinner table. "Come, my love. Help me pass the plates," she asked softly. The boy looked at her, really looked, and muttered under his breath, "Why should I? You always hide everything from me. Maybe you hid my dad too." The words sliced through her like glass. Her hands froze, the plates in her grasp trembling. Her breath hitched, but before she could respond, the boy stood abruptly and walked to his room, slamming the door so hard the frame rattled. Amara collapsed into the nearest chair, hands covering her face, the sobs escaping uncontrollably. "God, what is happening to my baby?" Obinna walked in moments later, hearing the slam. His eyes followed the closed door, then fell to Amara's trembling frame. He walked to her, kneeling, pulling her into his arms. "It's happening," she gasped between sobs. "Obinna, he's slipping away from me. He doesn't see me anymore. He doesn't hear me. Uche is poisoning him faster than I can protect him." Obinna held her tightly, jaw clenched, his own voice thick. "No, no, we won't let this happen. We won't." But deep down, even Obinna, a man of steel and strategy, felt the weight of a terrifying question pressing against his chest. What if love isn't enough to undo this damage? And in that moment, their peaceful home cracked, not because of a storm outside, but because the storm had now moved inside. The morning started like any other, or so it seemed. Amara prepared breakfast with a hollow heaviness that had become far too familiar. The smell of sizzling plantains and fried eggs filled the air, but the warmth that once accompanied family meals was absent, replaced by tension that could be sliced with a knife. As she set the plates on the table, she called out, "Baby, come down. Breakfast is ready." Silence answered. No hurried footsteps. No cheerful response. Her heart tightened. Maybe he's still sleeping, she told herself. But her gut twisted. Something was wrong. She climbed the stairs, her steps quickening with each floor. When she pushed open his bedroom door, her breath caught. The bed was perfectly made. His school bag, usually tossed in the corner, was gone. So were his shoes. And the wardrobe hung open, empty of his favorite clothes. Panic hit her like a tidal wave. "Obinna!" she screamed, her voice cracking. Her husband sprinted up the stairs 2 at a time, bursting into the room, instantly reading the terror on her face. His eyes scanned the empty space, his fists tightening. No, where is he? Where is he? Amara was already dialing his phone number, her hands trembling so badly she nearly dropped the device. "Switched off," she choked out, voice trembling. "His phone is switched off." Her knees buckled, and she collapsed onto the bed, shaking her head. No, God, no. Where is my son? Where is my child? Obinna paced the room like a lion trapped in a cage, his phone pressed to his ear, barking orders to his security team. "Check the school, check the CCTV footage, check every route, find him." An hour later, confirmation came in like a dagger to the heart. Obinna's private investigator sent a message with images captured from school cameras. The boy, their son, had walked out of school gates early that morning, a small backpack slung over his shoulder, climbing onto the back of a motorcycle driven by none other than Uche. The sight of it broke Amara completely. Her hand flew to her mouth as her knees hit the floor. No, after everything I suffered, he still took him. He took my son. Her cries were not just sobs. They were wails from a soul that had been ripped open. Obinna pulled her into his arms, gripping her so tightly it hurt. His own voice trembled as he whispered, "We'll get him back." I swear on my life, Amara, we will get him back. But in his chest, even Obinna felt the crushing weight of a truth that clawed at him. The enemy wasn't just outside anymore. The enemy was now in their child's heart. At Uche's compound, the atmosphere was entirely different, a twisted mockery of celebration. As the boy stepped off the motorcycle, Uche practically smothered him with affection, wrapping his arms around him as though the past had never existed. "Welcome home, son," he grinned, ruffling the boy's hair. "You're where you belong now. No more lies. No more pretending." Mama Uche was waiting at the doorway, her hands clapping with glee. "My grandson. My blood. Our heir is finally home," she sang, grabbing the boy's hands. The sisters rushed forward, pretending affection, offering plates of jollof rice and meat as though he was a prince returning from battle. But beneath the fake smiles was a poisonous triumph, the belief that they had finally reclaimed what they believed was theirs. Inside the house, the manipulation didn't pause, it intensified. "You see, my son," Uche began as they sat, all this was supposed to be yours. But they took me away from you. They made me look like the bad person. But I never left you. I never stopped loving you." His words dripped with syrupy lies, each one designed to twist the boy's memories, rewrite his past, and bury the truth. Mama Uche added fuel, leaning forward with a dramatic sigh. "You see how your mother didn't even let you visit us all these years? Wicked woman. She wanted to erase us, erase your father, erase your true family." The boy sat quietly, confused, hurt, but slowly nodding. The comfort of their words, as false as they were, soothed the ache of his internal confusion. By nightfall, the boy was fully integrated into the twisted ecosystem. So Medina even set up a gaming console in his room, treating him like royalty. "Anything you want, just say it. You're home now," he grinned. But beneath the smiles were whispered conversations when the boy wasn't listening. "Now we'll use this. We'll get more. School fees, monthly upkeep, even legal wins," Mama Uche whispered in Gozi, both of them nodding, greed flashing in their eyes. For them, the boy wasn't a child, he was a key. A key to money, a key to relevance, and most importantly, a key to punishing Amara for daring to rise without them. What none of them realized, however, was that a child is not a tool, and the same fire that drew him in now was the same fire that, if mishandled, could burn everything to the ground. Amara hadn't eaten. She hadn't slept. She sat on the living room floor, arms wrapped around her knees, her eyes puffy, red, and hollow. Her hair was a mess, her gown wrinkled, her lips trembling, as though even breathing was a burden. Every ring of the phone made her jump. Every knock on the door sent her heart into a spiral of fear. Obinna paced, making endless calls to the police, private security, and investigators. But as each hour passed, the hopelessness deepened. "Where is my son? Where is my son?" Amara repeated over and over, as though the repetition would summon him back. She stared blankly at the baby photo still framed on the wall, a picture of a laughing boy, a boy who once thought she was the safest place in the world. The door finally opened, but it wasn't her son. It was one of Obinna's security officers. "Madam, sir, we've located him," he reported. Amara jumped to her feet, her heart thudding, so hard she thought she'd collapse. "Where? Where is he?" The man swallowed, looking uneasy. "He's at Mr. Uche's residence." The words slammed into her like a truck. Her knees gave out, and Obinna caught her just before she hit the ground. "No, not there, anywhere but there," she sobbed, clawing at her chest as though trying to physically pull the pain out. Obinna held her, his own eyes red, his throat tightening. It's okay. We'll bring him back. I swear to you, Amara, we'll bring him back." But even he felt the cracks forming in places he never thought would break. Her body trembled as she whispered, "After everything, after the shame, the suffering, the pain, is this how it ends for me? Is this how it ends for us?" Obinna cupped her face, forcing her to look at him. "No, this is not how it ends. Not while I'm still breathing." His words were firm, but both of them knew the war had crossed a line. This wasn't just about legal custody anymore. This was a fight for the soul of a child. And as the night closed in around them, with fear suffocating every breath, one truth rang louder than anything. This was the darkest chapter yet, but the story wasn't over. Not yet. The sun had barely risen when Obina's security team escorted the boy back home. Amara stood by the front door, her hands trembling, her lips quivering, her heart pounding so loudly it drowned out every other sound. The moment she saw her son step out of the black SUV, a rush of emotions flooded her. Relief, fear, joy, heartbreak. She wanted to run to him, scoop him into her arms, whisper, "Thank God you're home." But the look on his face stopped her cold. He didn't run to her. He didn't even smile. His eyes, once wide with love and trust, were now narrow, guarded, cold. He stepped around her as though she were a stranger. The dagger in her chest twisted deeper than anything she had ever felt before. Inside the house, the tension was suffocating. Amara tried to speak. "Baby, why? Why did you do this? Where did you go?" Her voice trembled with a mixture of fear and desperation. But the boy folded his arms, his jaw tight. His words came sharp, cutting her soul open. "Why do you care now? You never told me the truth. You never told me why you kept me from my real father. You lied to me. All these years you made me think, you made me believe." His voice cracked but stayed defiant. "You and that man, you took him away from me. You made me think he was nothing. But he's not. He's my dad." Amara gasped as though someone had physically punched her. Her hands flew to her mouth, shaking her head in disbelief. Obina stepped forward, his voice calm but firm. "Enough. We won't do this with raised voices. We will sit down and talk like a family." But the boy scoffed. "A family? With who? You're not my father. You never were." Obina's jaw clenched, but he said nothing. He exchanged a look with Amara, a look that said, "This is worse than we imagined." The boy stormed into his room, slamming the door shut behind him. Amara stood frozen, her breath coming in shallow gasps. Her knees buckled, and she collapsed onto the sofa, gripping the fabric as though it were the only thing keeping her tethered to reality. Her eyes, red and wild, stared blankly at the closed door, a single thought screaming in her head. "I'm losing him. I'm losing my son." The silence after the slam was unbearable. Amara sat stiff, her fists clenched, her mind spinning. How could this child, the child she suffered for, the child she fed when she herself went hungry, the child she carried when the whole world mocked her, now look at her like she was the villain? Her lips trembled. Her hands shook. Her heart, oh, her heart, felt as if it had been split open. Obina sat beside her, holding her hand, but even his presence could not calm the storm raging within her. She stood abruptly, wiped her face, squared her shoulders, and marched to the boy's door. "No, no, he won't speak to me like that. Not after everything. Not after what I've sacrificed," she muttered under her breath. She pushed open the door without knocking. Her son sat on the bed, scrolling angrily through his tablet, the same one Uche had bought him. His expression didn't soften when he saw her. If anything, it hardened. "What do you want?" he spat. The words hit her chest like bullets, but she ignored the pain. "What do I want?" she echoed, her voice rising with every word. "Do you know what I went through to carry you? Do you know how close I came to dying because of that man you now call father? Do you know the nights I went without food, the days I walked in the sun, the insults I swallowed all to raise you?" Her voice cracked. Her breathing became erratic. The dam of years of suffering burst open. Tears streamed down her face, but her words didn't stop. "Do you think he was there? Do you think he cared when the doctors said I might not survive labor? Where was he when I was lying on that hospital floor with nowhere to go? With no one but God and this man," she pointed toward Obina's direction. "This man who didn't father you, but stood by me when the world spat on me." Her chest heaved as the boy looked up, his own eyes glossy but filled with rebellion. "Then why didn't you tell me? Why did you hide him from me?" he shouted back. The words were a slap. Amara's knees buckled, her hands flew to her mouth, and she stumbled back. Her voice broke into a whisper, barely audible. Because I was trying to protect you, but it was too late. The damage was done." The child stood, his own face streaked with tears, and stormed past her, slamming the front door behind him. Amara stood there for a moment, frozen, her chest rising and falling as her hands trembled violently. Then, as though every ounce of strength left her body at once, she collapsed to the floor. Her cries were not the cries of someone sad, they were the cries of someone shattered beyond repair. God, where did I go wrong? What did I do to deserve this? Why is this happening to me? She screamed, clawing at her chest as though trying to tear the pain out. Obinna rushed to her, dropping to his knees, wrapping his arms around her as tightly as he could. But even he, the rock that had held her steady for years, felt helpless. This wasn't just heartbreak, this was devastation. Her body convulsed with every sob. I did everything. I gave him everything, and still, the words faded into unintelligible cries. Obinna held her tighter, whispering, No, you didn't fail. You didn't. This is not your fault. This is not your fault, Amara. This is them, this is the poison they planted. This is them. But his words felt hollow even to him, because deep inside, even Obinna was scared. Scared of whether the damage could be undone. Scared of whether the boy they raised with love, sacrifice, and protection was gone forever. Stolen not by force, but by lies. Amara buried her face in his chest, her fingers digging into his shirt. Obinna, I've lost him. I've lost my baby. I don't know how to fight this. I don't know. Her voice trembled until it disappeared into ragged breathing. Obinna held her, rocking her gently, his own tears silently falling. He pressed his lips to her hair and whispered, You didn't lose him. Not yet. Not yet. As long as we breathe, we fight. But in his heart, even as he said it, he wondered if love would truly be enough to pull their son back from the shadows. Obinna sat on the edge of the bed, watching Amara sleep fitfully, her face still stained with dry tears. His heart weighed heavier than it ever had in his life. This wasn't just about legal custody or financial warfare. It was about saving a child's soul from the claws of manipulation. He had built companies, fought against powerful competitors, survived betrayals in boardrooms, and yet this was the hardest battle of his life. Slowly, he rose, pacing the floor. He couldn't sit idle. His fists clenched. If words had broken the child, then words would be the weapon he'd use to heal him. Not just any words, but the truth. The next morning, as the boy sat on the living room couch, face stony, refusing eye contact, Obinna approached quietly. He didn't raise his voice. He didn't command. He simply sat beside him, allowing a long silence to fill the space. Finally, Obinna spoke, his voice steady, low, but filled with an emotion that couldn't be ignored. Do you know, when I was your age, my father denied me too? The boy blinked, confused but silent. Obinna continued, his gaze distant, as though watching a memory play out. My father stood before an entire village and said he didn't know me. He said I wasn't his. He walked away, left my mother crying in the dirt while people watched, laughing, whispering, judging. The boy shifted uncomfortably but listened. Obinna's voice thickened. I know how it feels to crave someone's love so badly you would believe anything they say, just for them to stay. But let me ask you something. Where was he when you were born? Where was he when your mother was on the hospital floor, when the world mocked her, when she had no one but you in her belly? Where was he when you were learning to walk, falling down, scraping your knees? When you were sick? When you were scared? Obinna turned to face him directly, his eyes fierce yet wet. Son, it's easy to show up when the work is done. It's easy to say I'm your father when you are standing tall, but real fathers, they show up when you have nothing, when the world turns against you. Silence fell between them, heavy, raw, undeniable. The boy sat frozen, his hands gripping the edge of the couch, his breath caught somewhere between anger and disbelief. He blinked rapidly, as though trying to filter through the whirlwind of confusion spiraling in his chest. But, he said, his voice cracked. Obinna shook his head gently. I know what he said. And that's why, today, you'll hear what he didn't say. He reached for the folder he had prepared, pulling out photos, legal documents, and most painfully, a USB drive. He plugged it into the TV. The screen flickered, then loaded the infamous video. The one that had once gone viral. The sound of Uche's voice filled the room. I don't know her. That child is not mine. Words shouted at a hospital reception, with Amara pregnant, collapsed in tears against the wall. The boy's face drained of color. His hands trembled as he watched, the crowd staring, people gossiping, his mother sobbing helplessly. Obinna didn't pause it. He let every second play. When it ended, he opened another file. Screenshots of messages from Uche to others at the time, mocking Amara, bragging about denying her and walking away. Legal papers followed, the original abandonment filings, the court's records of Uche refusing financial responsibility when the boy was born. Amara walked in quietly during the presentation, her face swollen from crying, but her posture straight. She sat beside the boy, who now stared at the screen, his lips trembling. His voice was barely a whisper. Is this real? Is this true? His body trembled as the weight of the betrayal began crashing into him like waves in a storm. Amara wiped her face, leaned forward, and cupped his face gently. I didn't keep him from you to hurt you. I kept the truth until you were old enough to understand. I didn't want you to grow up hating anyone, even him. The boy shook his head violently, his tears finally falling. Why? Why did he lie? Why did I believe him? He gasped, curling into himself. His sobs were loud, painful, the kind that came not from physical pain, but from the shattering of trust. It didn't take long for Uche to show up at the house that evening. He arrived with arrogance written across his face, believing the custody battle was still his to win. Dressed in his best shirt, he walked into the compound uninvited, carrying a fake air of confidence. I've come to see my son, he declared loudly at the gate. Obinna walked out, hands in his pockets, gaze cold as ice. Oh, you'll see him, he said. In fact, he's waiting. Uche's grin widened. What he didn't realize was that the boy wasn't waiting in joy. He was waiting with the fury of betrayal. The boy stormed out, fists clenched, his eyes red from crying. His voice, though trembling, carried enough power to silence even Uche. Why did you lie to me? Why? Uche blinked, caught off guard. And no, son, listen, they twisted your mind, but the boy wasn't buying it anymore. Twisted? Twisted. I saw the video. I saw you deny me, deny mom, call her a liar, leave her there crying in front of everyone. And then you came back years later, lying to me, telling me they took you away when you were the one who left. His voice cracked. I hate you. The words were daggers. Uche stumbled back as though slapped. Mama Uche and the sisters, who had followed behind to enjoy the drama, stood stunned. The neighbors had begun gathering, whispering, watching. Obinna crossed his arms. You thought you'd poison him like you poisoned everyone else. But guess what, Uche? You underestimated the one thing your heart never understood, truth. Uche looked around, humiliated, his face burning with shame. But there was no saving face anymore. The boy's next words sealed it. You're not my father. You never were. A real father doesn't abandon his child when it's inconvenient. Silence fell. The kind of silence that echoes long after words are spoken. And for the first time in his life, Uche tasted the full weight of what he had truly lost. Not just custody, not just a legal battle, but the love of the son he once threw away. The following morning, Uche's family arrived at Obinna's compound, their arrogance reduced to desperation. Mama Uche, who had once paraded through streets with her chest raised high, now shuffled forward with her wrapper barely tied, her face twisted with fake remorse. Behind her, Ngozi and Chidinma followed, their expressions strained, casting nervous glances at the crowd of neighbors that had gathered yet again. Word had spread like wildfire. Everyone knew what had transpired the day before. Uche trailed behind them, his face gaunt, his steps heavy as though the ground beneath him threatened to swallow him whole. This wasn't just shame. It was the weight of a lifetime of bad choices finally collapsing on him. Mama Uche went straight to her knees the moment the gate opened, clasping her hands together. Amara, my daughter, please forgive us. Forgive me, forgive Uche, we didn't know what we were doing. We were blinded by, her words broke into stammers, the fake sobs tumbling out as she slapped her chest dramatically. You're our daughter. You'll always be our daughter. please, please." The sisters quickly joined the performance, kneeling beside their mother. "It was the devil, Amara. It was the devil that caused all this," Ngozi cried, wringing her hands. "We're sorry, please forgive us." Their faces were wet, but it was the kind of wetness that comes from squeezing tears out, not from genuine remorse. Amara stood there, silent, her hands folded across her chest. Her son stood beside her, gripping her fingers, watching the scene unfold with wide, wary eyes. Obinna stood slightly behind, arms crossed, his gaze like steel. After a long pause, Amara took a deep breath, her voice calm but firm, not trembling, not broken, but strong. "I forgive you," she said softly. A gasp echoed through the crowd. "I forgive you not because you deserve it, but because I deserve peace. I deserve to sleep at night without carrying hate in my heart. But understand this," her voice hardened. "Forgiveness does not mean access. Forgiveness does not mean I'm forgetting what you did. The pain, the lies, the nights I cried while you laughed, that's not something I can erase." She pointed at Uche directly. "You threw me away. You denied me. You denied him. And now you have to live with the fact that this door is permanently closed." The air went dead silent. The family, still kneeling, realized the truth. This wasn't reconciliation. This was the burial of the past. As the days turned into weeks, the atmosphere inside Amara's home transformed. Where there was once tension, laughter returned. Where doubt had crept in, love flourished again. The boy, their son, slowly but surely healed. Each morning, he helped Amara cook, asking her questions about her childhood, about how she survived, about how strong she had to be. At night, he sat with Obinna, asking about business, about life lessons, and sometimes just asking how to be a better man than the one who left him behind. The wounds weren't erased, but they became scars, reminders of battles fought and won. And every scar told a story of survival, of resilience, of love that refused to die. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting the house in a soft golden glow, the boy walked into the kitchen where Amara was chopping vegetables. Without warning, he wrapped his arms around her waist, resting his head against her back. "Thank you, Mom," he whispered. Amara froze for a second, then smiled, a smile that carried 1,000 broken nights, but also 1,000 hopeful tomorrows. "For what?" she asked softly. "For not giving up on me, even when I believed the wrong things," he replied, his voice thick with emotion. She turned around, holding his face, kissing his forehead. "There's nothing in this world that could ever make me give up on you," she whispered. Tears slipped down both their cheeks, but this time they were tears of healing. As dinner was served that night, Obinna joined them, placing his hands on both Amara's shoulder and the boy's. His voice was warm, strong, certain. This is family. Not because of blood, not because of DNA, but because of choice, of love, of the fact that when the storm came, we held on to each other. They sat together, eating, laughing, joking about the burnt plantain, about the crookedly folded napkins, about anything and everything that meant life was finally whole again. Outside, the neighbors looked on from a distance, some with envy, others with respect. But none could deny one simple, undeniable truth. The family they once mocked had become the family no storm could ever break again. And as the final rays of sunlight disappeared into the horizon, one chapter closed, not in pain, but in peace. Thank you for watching this video. What did you learn from this story? Drop it in the comments. Please make sure you like, comment, and subscribe to my YouTube channel TOCHI Stories for more.